Tim Cook. Tim Cook of Apple is stepping down after 15 years as CEO. He has been remarkably successful. I want to show you something. A lot of people give Steve Jobs all of the credit for Apple, and he did. I'd even give him the majority because he turned the company around. But 2011 in August, this is when Steve Jobs handed the reins over to Tim Cook. Tim Cook has truly grown this company massively. He's built out the world's greatest supply chain. He made it so I believe Apple products haven't had a recall in his entire tenure. You know, they're made with high quality materials. They come out every year, like clockwork. He's built something impressive. And for the most of his time there, Apple was the most valuable company on earth. It has recently been passed by NVIDIA and Microsoft briefly. It might be flip-flopping. But still, $4 trillion company. Again, for most of his tenure, this is the #1 company in the world. And if you are a believer that the AI bubble is a little bit overvalued, probably still the most valuable company on earth in the world because they have a ton of cash. They make real hardcore profit. They basically, make a phone and sell it at like a massive markup. I've heard it described as the iPhone is like the margins of selling a Ferrari, but the amount of selling Toyotas. It's like a mass market product with the margin of a luxury product, and it's the greatest product ever. I mean, in terms of, I don't use an iPhone, but in terms of business. And then once you have it, you're locked into the fucking AirPods and the watch and the entire ecosystem and the App Store. They get 30% on the whole thing. It's just a money generating machine. And so a lot of that is his effort. He's done a really good job with that. He hasn't innovated much. That's the big criticism of Tim Cook, is that during his tenure, the biggest new product was like, what? AirPods? That's like the biggest new product, but obviously he's had a couple truly incredible successes. Can you guys even imagine what the world was like before the Apple Vision Pro? Made something bigger than Nike. As I've said in recent weeks, the metaphor that if AirPods was his own company, it'd be bigger than Nike is no longer fun to say because Nike has fallen off so hard that's not even a big deal. I wouldn't even bring that up anymore. Nike used to be a bigger deal. Maybe when Nike pivots to AI data centers. Anyway, so Tim Cook is replacing his role with John Ternus, who comes from the hardware side of Apple. He's like the executive VP of hardware development, I believe. That's generally a good idea. It's better than like the Boeing model, right? Where they throw up somebody from marketing, marketing or finance. Those people generally have a better chance of gutting the company. Seems like a decent choice, but he is left with two major challenges. Number one, is the phone fading out? Are we at the end of the phone era? Obviously not this year or even the next 5 years, but like, is it the beginning of some like voice devices or other types of things other than the phone being the most dominant thing in all of tech? Maybe not. Certainly Apple doesn't think so, but there is an idea that they're a little bit behind on new hardware. For example, there's a thought that a major cut-in to consumer electronics will be people's cars. As cars get more advanced, they're gonna have more and more stuff in them. They're gonna have more and more UI and if self-driving gets better. And so all the phone companies in China, for example, are making cars. Xiaomi's making a car, Huawei's making a car. Not even making, they have cars right now that you can buy and they're really good. Apple was making a car, kind of seeing the way that was going. If you flash forward, let's say 5 years or whatever, if self-driving's a much bigger deal, people are gonna spend a lot more time in their cars and cars become consumer electronics staples instead of just about the horsepower. Apple canceled their car. They couldn't get one built. So it's a big thing where like, is this hardware guy gonna jump on that? Is he thinking about that? Are they literally gonna just try and do new iPhone, new iPad, new iWatch every year till they die? Are they going to disrupt the paradigm that has worked for the past decade plus of Tim Cook? That's the big question, number one. Question number two is, Tim Cook, unlike every single other major tech company, ignored AI. They really didn't develop their own good AI product, and so they ended up outsourcing to, first it was OpenAI, now it's Gemini. They're behind the curve massively on AI. They haven't built out any unique model. They haven't built out data centers. They're not doing that kind of thing. And so if they're right, and they can just wait and buy up somebody later or clean up the ashes after things get, then it's incredible. But if they're wrong, then they're like immeasurably behind. They're gonna end up being IBM to Google or to Microsoft. You know what I'm saying? That's the big question. I was talking with Aiden about this on the Lemonade Stand, and he did bring up a good comparison that I think is worth talking about. and that is Bob Iger. So Bob Iger was and is the CEO of Disney, and Bob Iger left at the peak. He left at a great time. And Tim Cook's kind of leaving at the peak. If Tim Cook retires now, which he's about to do, he's an incredible CEO. He's done an incredible job. His name is unimpeachable, but he's left some bubbling problems under the surface that he hasn't addressed. It's the next guy's problem. If the next guy fumbles that and Tim Cook tries to come back, my advice is don't do it, bro. Don't pull a Bob Iger, because Bob Iger torched his reputation by coming back. Bob Iger came back. He couldn't fix any of the problems he kicked to the next guy. Disney is stagnated, flatlined. The Disney Plus dream is dead. And he went from being like this GOAT CEO to being like, oh, he's just kind of lucky with the timing. So I don't know if Tim Cook's going to do that, but Tim Cook is leaving with some problems under the surface. If they go right, then it's all good. If they go wrong, though, there's some pressure for him to get back. Isn't Tim Cook still going to be in the picture as chairman? Yes, he is, 100%. Tim Cook is still in the picture, but you're a CEO. You are setting the tone. It's your company now, your direction. In fact, the more Tim Cook hangs around as chairman, historically, the worse it is for the new CEO to get anything done. It becomes this weird thing where you kind of have to run it through Tim. They're hanging on, but they're not quite in the door. They don't know what's going on, boots on the ground, but it's not a good idea. So he should kind of like back up as much as he can and let the new guy do the best he can. Like a disappointed mom. Yeah, exactly. To the Apple community. I think that's so cringe. I hate calling it a community, bro. People that buy your phones are not part of a community. In every one of these emails, I feel the beating heart of our shared humanity. Tim Cook, you know what? I'll give it to him. He's the last of a dying breed. In like the 2014, 15, 16 era, all tech CEOs were like, kind of woke. And they kind of always talked about a better world and climate change. And that was like a big thing for tech CEOs. Now you see like the Palantir CEO talking about how like, we need to give everybody a gun because the revolution's coming and we're going to be putting the permanent underclass to work in factories. It's just changed. And Tim Cook still kind of does things this 68-year-old CEO still does it the old fashioned way, bro. Tim Cook still puts up a fucking flag for pride. You know what I'm saying? He still says we're all part of a community with our shared humanity, even though he's just selling you a phone. He's just taking a phone, making it in China, marking it up, and then locking you into an ecosystem where you can charge 30% tax on every digital thing you use. John Ternus, a brilliant engineer and thinker who spent the last 25 years building the Apple products our users love so much. Obsessed with every detail, focused on every possible way he can make something better, bolder, and more meaningful. He's the perfect for the job. All right, well, nice to say. He has done a good job. I mentioned this on Stan too. I'm kind of aping the Stan Patreon, but it's only one small part of it. So one thing I've always liked about Tim Cook, even though he is a very wealthy man, he makes less money as the CEO of the most valuable company in the world for most of his time than someone like David fucking Zaslav. It's like a perfect example of like, no matter what metric you use, these fucks are overpaid because you could always point to any one of these horrible dog shit CEOs who a lot of them make more than Tim Cook and be like, there is no way you deserve that because at least Tim Cook built the most valuable company on earth. If you're getting paid more than them and you think you deserve that in any way, you're fucking lying. You've scammed the company out of it. If Tim Cook can do it for less than you, you can do it for less. I don't have much more to say about it. We'll have to see how the guy does. I think Tim Cook has left him, a couple problems, but a lot of good things. And if he's right, if Apple as a whole is right, that AI is not a good investment yet. If they can wait, if they can come in later, then he was genius. Then he's actually going to be the genius because the CapEx implosion from the other Mag 7 is going to leave Apple as the undisputed fucking flush with cash king. They're going to be able to buy up everything they want at pennies on the dollar. Like, if he's right. If he's wrong, you don't know. But if they're right, it's the move of the decade. You think Steve could have done the same? It's too far removed. I don't know what Steve Jobs would have. I think Steve Jobs would have been all in on AI. He was the type of guy that talked about shit like that. Oh, you mean like could he have done the same as Tim Cook? No, I don't think so. I think Tim Cook was a better CEO than Steve Jobs, but Steve Jobs was like a better, you can call it founder, whatever, founder energy. Like you need the new products that Apple created that Steve Jobs was responsible for pushing along. But after that, you kind of want Tim Cook. But in terms of like getting the company to run cleanly and efficiently, you know what? It's also crazy about Tim Cook. Last thing I'll say, I think, is that Tim Cook is probably the most incredible like diplomat. Tim Cook was friends with Obama and Trump and Xi Jinping at the same time. Nobody is on his bad side. He's somehow the one company on earth able to do heavy business in China and heavy business in America and be strategically important and not get in trouble. It's kind of crazy. He has skirted so many lines and loopholes, and he's balanced egos. It's wild. NVIDIA can't sell chips in China, bro. That's the perfect example of my point. NVIDIA is in a constant battle between the US and China. It's a huge risk for them. Apple has navigated it. Maybe he was just giving Trump a gold iPhone. Maybe he knows what he's doing. Was he friends with Epstein? No. As far as I know, Tim Cook has no sexual scandals either, so what a bonus. Plus, he's gay, you know, so he gets a 1 point in the woke column. It's the easiest one, okay, for Silicon Valley, but he does do it.